Session of the July 20th, 2021 to order at 6:10 p.m. I apologize for the late start time, everyone. Welcome to all of our guests and visitors. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted one 3-minute presentation regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. If you are here to speak and have not filled out a registration card, please see the City Secretary staff at the registration table outside the auditorium so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation and the staff will distribute those to council. If you are unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. And Esmeralda, do we have any registered speakers?
We do have registered speakers that have placed those signers.
And I got these cards. When called to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Each speaker must limit comments to 3 minutes. If you are speaking on behalf of a group of 10 or more individuals present, please have those persons stand at the beginning of your comments, and you will be given 10 minutes to address the council. Please note that if you stand in support of a person getting 10 minutes to speak, you are forfeiting your right to speak on that item. For any person addressing the council through the use of a translator, the speaking time will be doubled to accommodate the translation services. While public discourse is very important to the council, we have to maintain order in the meetings so that persons may be heard and city business may be conducted. So if directed by me, the Sergeant at Arms shall remove from the council meeting any person who, while addressing the city council or while attending the meeting, makes personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, becomes boisterous, or makes unauthorized remarks from the audience, claps hands, stomps feet, whistles, yells, or makes similar demonstrations. Now, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item of business is to consider the minutes of the July 6th, 2021 City Council meeting. A copy of those minutes was provided to you in your meeting packet. Are there any corrections to the minutes as submitted? If no, they will stand as approved. And the next order of business is public hearing 2021-450. And this, actually, the first thing we have is a special proclamation. Here to receive this proclamation is Wilbert London III and his parents, Jacqueline and Wilbert London Jr., and his grandmother, Luella Carter, and Coach Clyde Hart. Mr. London and your family, would you please join me at the podium? All right, I, Dylan Meek, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Waco, Texas, do hereby proclaim July 20th, 2021 as Wilbert London III Day in the city of Waco and urge the people of Waco to join with the city council, the city staff, and me in honoring the contributions of this distinguished Wacoan. Mr. London is a Waco ISD alumnus, a Baylor track and field star, and now an Olympian. Yeah. He's the son of Jacqueline and Wilbert London Jr. and the youngest of 4 children. He was introduced to the sport of track and field at just 4 years old when he stepped foot on the track for the first time as part of the Team Waco Summer Track and Field Program. Affectionately known as Lil Will among city athletic staff, he went on to earn numerous awards throughout his years in the program and became a leading mentor and inspiration for younger generations of the Team Waco athletes. Will's list of athletic achievements during his 4 years as a Baylor Bear include 3 Big 12 championship titles, a silver medal in the 4x400 meter relay when he ran for Team USA in the 2017 World Championships. Today, we recognize Wilbert London III for being the first athlete born in Waco to participate in the Olympic Games. Wow, that's awesome. Let's go. After winning the 400-meter dash opening heat during the U.S. Olympic track and field trials, will advance to the semifinals and secured an Olympic spot with Team USA for the men's 4x400 meter relay pool. Now he heads for the Olympics with Central Texans and the nation cheering him on. This 23-year-old Wacoan is a strong representation of where hard work, grit, and determination, both on and off the track, can lead. In testimony whereof, witness my hand and the seal of the city of Waco this 20th day of July 2021. And I just want to say how proud we all are of you. Waco, this is a current theme this year. Waco is a city of champions, and you embody that in your character on and off the track, and we are so proud to cheer you on with all you're doing. I know that this is a huge accomplishment, but I believe that there's many greater accomplishments for you even in the years ahead. So it is our honor to be here today, and we will be rooting for you and Team USA as you go forward. So congratulations, sir. Fun stuff. Great. Congratulations. All right, we will now move on to public hearing 2021-450, and I believe our Director of Development Services, Clint Peters, will be making a staff presentation on this.
Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the following subdivision plat. Amended preliminary plat of the SunWest Village Edition. By a vote of 11-0, the Plan Commission recommended that the plat be approved.
We will now open a are there any questions for staff? If not, we will open up a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak regarding this item? Seeing no speakers, we will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes. Palmer.
Aye.
Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and the next item is public hearing 2021-451.
Mayor, before we start this public hearings 451 through 454 are all special permits with the same recommendation of approval with the findings. So I'd like to read those findings in the record first and then go through each one. The findings are that the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan, that the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area which is located, that the proposed use will not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristic that any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of the special exception, and that available community facilities and services, including the road system, provide access to proposed use are adequate for the proposed use. So for 451, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Jason Mark Hall for a short-term rental type 1 in R1B zoning district on property described as Lot 12, Block 1 of the Lakes at the Clark Moshik Edition, known as 3420 Lyle Avenue. By a vote of 11-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings that I just read in the record.
Are there any questions for staff? We will open a public hearing. Is there an applicant or applicant representative or opponent that's here to speak on this item? If not, we will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval. Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes. That motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-452.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Marla and Raymond Mandela for a short-term rental type 2 in R1B zoning district on property described as Lot 5, Block 9 of the Lake Air Village Edition, known as 5719 Fairview Drive. By a vote of 8-3, the Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance. Pursuant to state law and the zoning ordinance, if a protest is filed with the commission or city council against an application, it shall not be approved except with the 3/4 vote of the members of the council. A protest must be signed by the owners of 20% or more, either of the land of the lots included in the application or of the lots or land immediately adjoining the area which is subject of the application and extending 200 feet from such area. In this case, a protest was received meeting this criteria, therefore a 3/4 city council vote is required for approval of this request.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Hey, Steph, and Clint, sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Clint, just to clarify, earlier in your work session, you said 30% of the homes that were within 200 feet of the applicant were opposed, correct?
It's a little bit different. So it's the people that signed the petition own 30% of the land within 200 feet.
The people that signed the petition, okay. Thank you so much.
We do have a card. This is a sign of moving beyond COVID. This is the first meeting I have with cards in my hand, so it's the next step. So bear with me here. But we do have our, I believe the applicant, who is Miss Mandela? Is that right? Are you here? And if you'd like to speak, you have 3 minutes. And next in line, we have Winnie Winter, I believe as well.
Hey, well,
Good evening.
hello and welcome. We've been coming out to Waco for 4 years now. Every summer, we bring our entire family, which this time was 8. We've always done Airbnb, so we were hoping that we could get an Airbnb, so when we came for the summers, we would have our own Airbnb or place to stay. So that's why we bought this house. We're definitely respectful of all the neighbors. We've been improving the house the whole week in the last 2 weeks that we've been here. Our realtor would be the one who would be the actual host, so she would be local. This time, our stepson did purchase a house, so we're bringing people here to purchase houses. The comments about being greedy, we just were hoping to make enough money to pay the mortgage when we're not there. Other than that, we don't want to price gouge anybody because that's just not the right time right now. So we don't want to do that. But the quote saying that we were greedy, that I sold a house top dollar, well, 2 things. One, that was in California. We sold that house so we could purchase another house in California. If that quote pertains to the other house that we sold at top dollar, that was my mother's condo, and she actually purchased 2 houses here in Waco. So we've been trying to bring business. We're hoping to relocate our family, so that's why we've been purchasing houses. We also have 10 acres in Hallsburg. This is an experiment. If it doesn't work, we would be the first ones to acknowledge it and pull the plug because, you know, we don't know what's going to happen, and it won't be rented out, I'm sure, full time. But we were just hoping large families could come there because it's a really nice big house. So, anything else?
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Any questions?
I have one. Is your intention to, because you said you summer here, are you considering moving here like permanently, and this is just a phased approach?
No, we're hoping once I retire. My husband's already retired, so I have about 1 to 2 years, and we honestly want to get out of California. And Texas is the place where we want to go. It's more our style, more our speed. But yeah, we're hoping in the next couple of years.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Next, we have Wendy Winter. Please come to the podium and, if you don't mind, say your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm Wendy Winter. My address is 1104 Los Alamitos. However, I'm here speaking on behalf of my father, who lives at 2013 Meadow Road. And Leonard Dranke, he's been a homeowner in this neighborhood for 50-plus years. Since being notified that the home next door to him could possibly be turned into an STR Type 2, the concern for the neighborhood by him and many of the other neighbors has grown. On the site, it does, say to promote the safety and the welfare within the community, and by allowing the STR in the neighborhood, serious concerns about that have been voiced by him and many of the neighbors. Many of them, are run by the remote host and managers and don't know the guest and don't know who's coming in and out of the property. And the sheer volume of the people passing through the property in the neighborhood, there's, more likelihood of break-ins and thefts and things happening, and just, never knowing who's going to be staying next to you. And while speaking to many of the neighbors, he found that they also share all of these concerns. Of the 10 neighbors that he spoke to, all of them were against having a short-term rental in the neighborhood and signed the petition expressing their opposition. I realize what they're saying, that they're also staying there, but in the times when they're not there, there's people in and out. And I guess they feel, the neighbors and he feel, that there are plenty of hotels in Waco, for visitors to stay at. And there's no need to allow another home to be turned into a short-term rental. He doesn't want a vacation spot, where there are strangers constantly in and out of the house next to you, at night when you lay down, you don't know who's staying next door to you. If the homeowner, is not there. Not going to be on site because a type 2, of course, is the short-term rental, owner not on site. And some of you may not find this to be a big issue, but think about the friendships, bonds, and feelings and community that you have in your own neighborhoods, and think, how you would feel if the home next to yours was nothing more than a quick stop-off for other people coming and going. And a lot of the neighbors also voiced all of these same concerns. He was really surprised, and I as well, that I, went with him, that they all shared these concerns. In short, he and his neighbors, they don't want to live next to a hotel. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other comments in favor or opposition to this matter? Mr. and Ms. Mandela, you get a brief rebuttal if you'd like to, but no obligation to do so. Okay. We will now we will close the public hearing, and is there a motion on this item?
I'll move for disapproval of this special permit request.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think I've been consistent in my logic here, and I think it should be fairly predictable, if not to council, then to the world here. But in my opinion, the people, a person's home is usually the biggest investment they make, and they make that investment in the home in a part of Waco that we have zoned as single family. And there should be some level of expectation. I want to support that level of expectation, that there be single family element in those zones. And to me, as the opponent here said, there's an element of commercial activity when you have a hotel-like short-term rental in the neighborhood. And I then go to the very proximate, immediate neighbors to say, hey, is it okay with you guys? And in this case, the neighbors have said, no, it's not. We don't really want it. So I will be, based on that, as I've done for the past 4 years, I guess, I'll be voting in favor of the disapproval here.
To the Mandelas, I think that we've had other families who've come forward with the same goal that y'all have had, and had a lot of neighborhood opposition similar to this petitions. And just to give you some hope, we've had people that have gone and talked to their neighbors about how they plan to run those short-term rentals, and have been able to come back to council at some point down the road and say, hey, we've got neighborhood support now. So that's something to keep in mind as you go forward. Any other discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes. Aye. Palmer. Aye. Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Sabino. Yes. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-453.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Skyway Holdings LLC for a contractor's shop in a C3 zoning district on property described as Lot N, Block 10 of the Riddle Addition, known as 1029 North Loop Drive. By a vote of 11-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on findings required for granting a special permit per Section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance. And we did provide y'all a copy of an updated conditions that include a 1-year time year for the permit.
Are there any questions for staff? We will open up a public hearing for comment. Are there any, is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
With the condition of the 1 year limitation.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Palmer,
Aye.
Porteroo,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Savito,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing, 2021-454.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Mission Waco, Mission World, Inc. for a transitional shelter type 2 in a O3 zoning district on property described as Lot 6 and 7, Block V, the West End Edition, known as 2322 and 2324 Gorman Avenue. By a vote of 11-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
Are there any questions for staff? We will open a public hearing, and we have one filed card on this item, and that is Kathy Wise. Kathy, would you like to speak on this item? Just available for questions. Any questions for Ms. Wise? All right, is there anyone else available, or anyone else that would like to speak on this item? We will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
I would just like to say hello to all of our friends from Mission Waco that are here. Y'all are a really phenomenal partner, not only to the city, but to the specific neighborhood that you're seeking to do work in. And I'm excited to see the continuation of this work take place.
Ditto. Please poll the council.
Holmes, Palmer, Porteroo,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Savito,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to the consent agenda. The following resolutions were pulled from the consent agenda, resolutions 2021-460, 463, and 489. So these will be voted on separately. So we will we will now move to resolutions 2021-460. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval.
Any discussion?
I would like to say, one of the things that I appreciate about our council is the diversity and the different points of view that we bring to the table. I would say it would be very boring if we all saw things the same way and in the same manner. But I also think one of the biggest benefits of this council is that we can agree on certain things and still leave our disagreement at the table, and at the end of the day are working to better our city. Councilmember Palmer and I have had discussions about this resolution, and she has her way of looking at it. I have my way of looking at it. We disagree, but in the end, we are still moving and working towards our city, a better and safer city for everyone. I am a proponent of Mars in our local economy. I have many constituents that live in South Waco that are employed by the company that have made a living and retired from the company. Mars has been an employer for, I think we heard, 40, 50 years in our community, 46 years in our community. One of the many things that I appreciate about them is how they've always, in my opinion, taken care of their employees financially through insurance, but corporately and locally have really made a conscious effort to be equitable in their hiring practices and making sure that people of color are getting an opportunity in the local company that's here. And for those reasons, I am voting for yes on this resolution.
Thank you, Hector. Jennifer, I'm sorry. I don't have anyone registered to speak on this item, but I think I wanted to make sure that I could allow someone to speak on this item, and I know it's not a public hearing, but could I just ask, procedurally, is it okay for me to ask if there's anyone here to speak on this item, even though there's been a motion in a second? I just wanted to make, and I don't know that there is, I don't have any cards.
Yes, you can certainly ask if there's anybody here to speak on this item.
Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Thank you. I just, again, I just wanted to make sure that I'd accounted for that to the extent there was. Thank you, Hector. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I have written a little bit of a statement for this. We talked about this in depth earlier this afternoon, but every day we vote for the future we want to see with the how and the where and with whom we spend our money. This is no different at the municipal level than it is at the micro level. This council is committed to seeking meaningful, well-paying working opportunities for our residents. But I think it's time we become more strategic and decisive about who receives our city incentives and funding. I am in opposition of this resolution because this is a $37 billion a year corporation that has a demonstrated history of corporate greed and exploitive labor practices. I take my role as a steward of city funding incredibly seriously and want to see our incentive packages and deals move the needle forward in the direction of equity. Throughout my time on council, we've consistently deferred to the subject matter experts in our community. Our leading anti-trafficking experts, namely Unbound and Jesus Said Love, who are both deeply aware of the complexities of poverty locally and understand both the labor and sex trafficking realm, have signed letters in opposition to this and want to defer to them. I want to incentivize businesses whose values and actions align with those of our council and our Waco constituents, and I welcome businesses that have a clean supply chain that honors the dignity and worth of all humans from start to end and welcome them to our economy.
I too, believe this is a serious issue, and I've got a few just brief prepared remarks as well. But it is a great privilege to serve with my fellow council members here who are deeply concerned with growing our economy in a way that's shared equally across the city. Unquestionably, this council has a proven record of promoting human flourishing and protecting children in our community. While I am thankful for Councilmember Palmer's and others' efforts to draw our attention to child labor in West Africa, which is a very serious issue, obviously, I also appreciate the ongoing billion-dollar initiatives that Mars Wrigley is undertaking to reduce and eliminate this practice. I plan to vote in favor of this business grant because I believe this will benefit Waco and that Mars Wrigley is substantively addressing this issue in a proactive and comprehensive manner. Also, in my view, if the city were to cut all ties with every global company whose supply chain does not meet our standards, we would be unable to do the business of this city. Echoing my fellow council members' comments, I am grateful to serve on this council where we can respect each other's differences of opinion and share in the belief that reasonable minds can disagree on important matters.
It's not much more to say than the appreciation of the ability to operate in civil discourse. I was at a luncheon earlier where Bill Clifton made the same statement that, the reason we are able to grow and foster this city is because we are functioning in a unit that allows disagreement without being disagreeable. There are several things that my council members have mentioned about the depth and breadth of Mars Wrigley's footprint here in the city of Waco. I can't remember a time, showing my age, that they weren't here. And the amount of families that have made foundation, built roots because of the employment there. I am supporting this grant because I personally know too many city managers who would swoop in like vultures to take them if they decided to not. And I can't make that kind of sacrifice for our city. There are too many families that depend on it. I understand and I agree with you, Councilmember Palmer, in that there are many egregious wrongs globally. And the only thing that I can hold fast is the stewardship and responsibility that I have for the people who elect us to this seat, and who continue to grow and make this city flourish and evolve. And so I will be supporting this grant and look forward to assisting in the work and labor of doing well to find well-intended industries to come into our city. I think that is our responsibility. So, that is a practice that we all will set, and I know that there are no wrongs that can be righted overnight. We are working diligently to correct some long-standing wrongs from the city of Waco, and we will do our due diligence, but with the sole purpose that we must do right by our citizens.
I'll make the same comment I did this afternoon. I think as Waco grows and attracts international companies, we have to be aware that these international companies have unique issues in their supply chain because they're dealing with different economies, different suppliers, different infrastructure in different countries, different legal environment. And as more and more of these companies come to Waco, I think it is, as Councilmember Palmer has indicated, probably more, we do need to be cognizant of their corporate responsibility. But I do believe that Mars, as Councilmember Bruder mentioned, they have a $1 billion investment that they've made to address, to focus on protecting children and the child labor issues in the Ivory Coast. And again, there may be room for improvement, but I applaud them being in Waco. They've been a great community partner. I totally support this $31 million investment that they're making in our city. That's going to help our local economy in the short run and the long run. They've been a great community partner, a $30 million payroll, 600 plus jobs, and have just been a model of a great corporate city partner. So I want them to keep expanding as Councilmember Bearfield suggested. Let's keep them here and keep making those Snickers bars. We love them. So I'm supportive of this.
We'll wrap up, I guess, on this and just say that there's been discussion on civil discourse, but I really think that this council is not just engaged in civil discourse, but I really believe that this council is committed to hearing each other and thinking critically and listening and being sharpened by one another. And for that, I'm thankful. And because of that, I think the bar continues to be raised in this city. So it's not just that we speak our minds and can be respectful for each other, but I think there is a critical listening that occurs and a sharpening that happens through the relationships that are forged, as well as the issues that are raised and addressed. And so, again, I'm glad that we can sit at this table together. This city has a long history of being committed to the issues of human trafficking. I have had the privilege and honor of serving on the board of Unbound for nearly a decade now. I don't speak for that organization today at all, but I remember being laughed out of the room at times when we, in the early days, were trying to raise issues and awareness of human trafficking in this city. And I did want to say, and I could have misread this, but I don't want to contradict you, Kelly. I did not read that letter that they submitted as a letter in opposition, and I could be wrong about it. I read it as a raising awareness to the issue. So what I would say is like a flag was thrown to say, hey, look at this, but I didn't read it as opposition, but maybe I could be wrong about that. So big caveat. But that's how I interpreted it. But I do think the city has taken this issue really seriously with the Heart of Texas Human Trafficking Coalition and having different department leaders serve on that and our police chief serving on that. I agree that with some of the points that were brought up that I think there's some validity to, which is that there's some challenges in the city monitoring supply chain and the difficulty of that. I also believe that Mars is a good corporate citizen. But when I look at this issue, what it really comes down to for me is when I weigh the scales of the social cost and look at what this incentive would do or not do, and I look at the true injustice of human trafficking that's occurring in the world, and also the injustice of generational poverty in our community, and really think through the implications of this, I do believe that partnering this direct job retention package secures 600 families retaining their jobs in Waco. And I think that it is with great seriousness that I examined this issue, but think that it's really important that I think that a vote for this has that weight. I do hear you, Kelly, very, very much, Councilmember Palmer, that there's time that a stand can be taken But for me, the reason I come down on this is because I'm weighing the social cost and feel like the impact would be greatest if we were to put those 600 families and their livelihoods at risk. I think this is a forward-thinking council who really tries to look at equity and justice. And City Manager Ford listed some of the great work we're doing on that, the equity study, our stated goals of equity, our small business recovery fund, the purchase of the YMCA, the funding for Johnson Hall, the equity and disparity study. There's the $15 an hour wage for our employees, multi-language practices. This is a council that is really thoughtful about how we can improve the lives of the world around us. And I think the reason this is passionate is because everyone on this council, it's such a passionate issue, is because everyone on this council cares deeply for people in the world around them. So for me, I think that I want to echo that in reviewing the work that Mars has done, it seems like they really have a good action plan in place. I think I've been moved by some of the commentary that has come up, and my hope is that we can hold Mars accountable to the work that they're doing that they presented to us before another incentive package would come forward. And I think that's accountability that seems reasonable to me. But I'm thankful for the 600 jobs in this community and how that, I believe, takes a bite out of the injustice of generational poverty in this community. And for that reason, that's why I'll be for this. Is there any further discussion on this matter? All right. Please poll the council.
Holmes. Aye. Palmer.
No.
Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Sabido. Yes. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to resolutions 2021-463. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Is there a motion on this item?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to resolution 2021-489. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? I believe I have a comment card from Ms. Porter. Or a registration card, not a comment card, sorry. Hi, Ms. Porter.
Howdy. Teresa Porter, Heart of Texas Electric Auto Association. I want to thank staff because I know this is the second time this has been on the agenda. A lot more information this time. Awesome. I didn't see where they contacted Proterra, Collins, BYD, or Green Power Motor Company for information. I think y'all are looking at 24-footers. The E450 chassis that they looked at for the optimal EV, Motive actually makes that, and they have more design options available, including longer ranges. And as far as the cost, I know they're expensive, but I'd be curious to see what the 7 to 10 year total cost of ownership is for these diesel buses. And the 5339C no-low grant from the Federal Transit folks, it's currently closed, but it's going to reopen again. We need to be ready for that. And it covers up to 85% of the cost of the vehicle. 85% is a lot. So maybe we could find a way to make this a little more economical. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. We also have a card from Dr. Northcutt.
Thank you, Alan Northcutt, 619 Stone Manor Drive. I do have a handout for you guys. I apologize, I don't have time for a tie tonight, but no disrespect is meant, I promise. This issue of electric versus these gasoline or diesel vehicles, it's very difficult to evaluate this page because the range component is not clear. It talks about 70 to 300 miles, but if you had a vehicle, if you had a route that was 70, for example, then some of these vehicles would have adequate range. So it's not clear really whether the range is satisfied or not by the electrics that were evaluated. Number two is charging, and they give this huge range of charging cost, $1,500 to $75,000. I want to make clear that in a normal situation, you're going to charge overnight with a level 2 charge. It's not going to be expensive at all. $1,500 would be a reasonable number. So, you know, don't freak out with the charging infrastructure cost. But what's missing here, there's no discussion of infrastructure costs for gasoline or diesel. You know, it's like only electrics have that. So what that means is really we're not looking at the total life cycle cost of these vehicles. In your handout, Lion states they have the lowest total cost of ownership. Now, you might take that with a grain of salt because it's coming from the corporation, but that must be evaluated. And you know, this is going to be an ongoing thing of evaluating electrics versus fossil fuel cars. We have to look at life cycle cost. And clearly, the infrastructure or the daily cost of electrics are cheaper, maintenance-wise and fuel-wise. Okay. And I think I have to mention this at the same time. There's another handout page, and that's about the Dottie, let's see if I can find it, the condominiums. We talked last time about, this is ordinance 2021-491, the Universal Code Council recommendation that we begin to put 240 outlets with plugs in garages going forward for EVs. It states here that the Dottie Oaks condominiums will have private garages. Now, this is a perfect example for the city to really put its money where its mouth is, begin to take action, and specify that these condominiums should have electric 240 plugs in these private garages. It's a great opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Northcutt. Is there anyone here registered or anyone here that would like to speak on this item? I will entertain a motion on resolution 2021-489.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
I will say I'm very appreciative of Ms. Porter and Dr. Northcutt and them coming before the council and challenging us to always be friendlier to our environment. Please don't stop doing that. I will say, and I've said this before, I think the city is working its way towards electric vehicles in some cases, as we've seen with the new park ranger vehicle and other city vehicles that are currently being utilized. When it makes sense and when it's fiscally responsible with our taxpayers' dollars, I am definitely in support of it. But when you are outweighing a cost and an electric vehicle almost being 4 times that's where I have an issue. And because of that, I'm in favor of moving forward with these paratransit vehicles. But please keep challenging us to do better. And Dr. Northcutt, I like the new look, so please keep it up.
Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Sabito's just gratitude to both Teresa and Dr. Northcutt. Y'all hold us accountable, and your persistence and your consistent advocacy is moving the needle, and I hope you see that, and I hope that you hear that we're listening to you, and we acknowledge that the climate crisis is real and it's not fake news, and we need to take consistent, aggressive action in stewardship of the city we have right now and the city that will be here 50 years from now and 100 years from now. City Manager Ford, I wonder if you could speak to some of the things that both Ms. Porter and Dr. Northcutt raised, and if there was exploration into some of these specific alternatives that are on the market.
I can't speak at a depth that's greater than what's in the packet, unless Deputy City Manager can bail me out any deeper than what is there. So and I would offer, sitting down with Ms. Porter and Dr. Northcutt separately and have that discussion. Certainly would welcome that with our transit director as well as Deidre and I to talk through those points they raised.
But we did make the invite to other companies, which is where we got the quotes from that are included in the packet as well.
Right. And we also have with rural transit, the reason the range is there, the 76 to 300, or I can't remember the range exactly in the item, but it's 76 at the low and it's much higher on the high, is that we're not often following the same route. It's not like necessarily a fixed route operation in the core of the city that knows it's going to travel 27 miles in a
Every day.
location. It's a different type of route
Every
that's
day.
providing a different type of service. And when the staff puts in the item that might create some challenges to operations, it's because we don't often or always know where we're traveling to on that day. And so that's the challenge specifically regarding range. I still feel really confident in the approach that y'all have authorized us to take on the right vehicle and the right type of vehicle and the right size of vehicle. And I remain just steadfastly committed to EVs where they make sense. And you'll be seeing an item, I believe, in your August agenda that brings on a consultant to do just that work for us and evaluate where EVs make sense and moving the needle in a real way.
Riley, I think you and Paul and I had spoken after our last council meeting. We've had so many small electric vehicle conversations come before council in the 8 months that I've been here, and I've fairly consistently voted no on these items because we don't have a full plan yet. And so I think I will also be voting in opposition of this until we have a plan with specific benchmarks of this is what the electrification of our fleet is going to look like by this year, by this make and model of each of our cars. So I look forward to when y'all present that and seeing the specific dates and benchmarks that we've committed to.
Fair enough?
I do have one question for Ms. Porter. Did you send you mentioned some brands of vehicles. Did you send that to staff already, the ones that you mentioned, Ms. Porter? Can you? Can you just send them?
Yes, I can send you websites. I have mentioned the Proterra ZX5 before.
I thought
but
I
it's a
remembered
little
the
bit
name.
bigger than what y'all are looking for. But it would be a great, BRT bus. But yeah, I can send y'all a list of those.
Would you please?
Or I can send it to Esmeralda and she can send it to y'all.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item? Please poll the council.
Holmes. Palmer. Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Sabino. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll now move to the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of resolutions 2021-455 through 2021-49, except resolutions 2021-463, 460, and 489. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion for approval on consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer. Aye. Porter. Yes. Fairfield.
Yes.
Sabino. Meek.
Motion carries, and we'll move to ordinance 2021-490.
An ordinance authorizing a developer participation agreement with Waco Construction LLC to allow the city of Waco to participate in the total cost for oversizing of improvements required by the city for the Foxborough Addition Phase 9, in an amount not to exceed the total amount of $1,556,132.21, to be paid monthly at an amount not to exceed 40% of this total cost of oversizing of improvements per month, in accordance with Texas Local Government Code Sections 212.071 through 212.074, authorizing the city manager to execute any documents in connection therewith, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a savings clause, and finding and terminating the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance comes to council on first reading.
Is there a motion?
Motion for approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes. Palmer.
Aye.
Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Sabino.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to ordinance 2021-491.
An ordinance amending the project and financing plan for reinvestment zone number 1 for tax increment financing, TIF or TIF Zone 1, to number 1, provide TIF funds in an amount not to exceed $1.3 million to JKBM Holdings LLC to redevelop the Oak Lodge Motor Inn site into a multi-use development consisting of condominiums, lofts, commercial, retail, and restaurant space located at 1024 Austin Avenue. 2, amend the agreement with Czech Brewing Company LLC to provide an extension of the project completion date for the renovation of a building at 320 through 324 South 8th Street. 3, amend the agreement with Barron's Loft Partners LLC to provide an extension of the project completion date for the renovation of a building at 215 through 217 South 4th Street, all projects being within TIF Zone 1 in Waco, McLennan County, Texas, and authorizing the city manager to execute any documents in connection therewith, providing an effective date, providing a savings clause, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 4-0 council vote on first reading on July 6, 2021.
Council members Borderoot and Palmer have filed affidavits of substantial interest on this item. Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Sabito.
Yes.
Mink.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move on to the hearing of visitors. During the hearing of visitors section of the agenda, we provide an opportunity for the public to present concerns or address issues that are not matters for consideration listed on the agenda. Council is unable to conduct discussion, but will listen, ask staff to look into concerns, and provide follow-up. Please provide registration information so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation, and staff will distribute those to council. If you are unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. Is there anyone present who would like to speak during the hearing of visitors? Seeing no one, we will close the hearing of visitors. Are there any council member reports on committees, boards, or commissions liaison visits?
Mayor, I don't have a report, but I did want to say earlier today I had the privilege and the opportunity to be in the audience as City Manager Ford spoke to a group at the Syntex Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to represent our city, to represent our organization. And I think I would say he did the council proud. He talked about the things, the goals, the objectives, the barriers that the city is trying to break, the goals that we're trying to move as far as equity, being financially stable, what we're doing with our local businesses, et cetera. And so, City Manager Ford, I just want you to know how appreciative I am for you doing that today on a council day on top of that. But I appreciate you representing our organization in such a positive, professional, and prestigious manner. So, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other council member reports on committees, boards, or commission liaison visits? If not, are there any requests for future agenda items? If not that, there being no further business, we will adjourn the meeting at 7:03 p.m. Thank you.